Hi, welcome everyone, and welcome to Exploring the Unsolved with Melissa. We dig and dive into some of the most perplexing true crime mysteries that refuse to give us the answers. Today, we'll be diving into one of Maryland's most haunting cold cases, the mystery of the cheerleader in the trunk.
Like and subscribe.
A young woman, hidden, forgotten, and her identity still a mystery decades after her body was discovered. So, who was she? What are the secrets lie in her tragic story? Let's take a look. It was August 24th in 1982 in Gambrills State Park in Frederick County, Maryland, on a quiet gravel road, where two hunters noticed something unusual. A footlocker, partly hidden beneath leaves and sticks, lying just off the beaten path. It was clear that someone had tried to cover it up, but it wasn't well hidden. Inside, curiosity got the better of them, and they looked inside, and they were horrified. And inside made the blood in their bodies turn cold. It was the decomposed remains of a young woman. Despite their initial shock and horrified of what they have just saw, they quickly notified the authorities. The investigators would uncover the remains of the young woman, who to this day was unidentified, as she had no identification and no markers on her. She became known from that day as cheerleader in the trunk due to signs of an athletic background. But who was she, and how did she end up there? So when investigators did open up the skeletal remains of the young woman, they estimated her between 17 to 27 years old. Originally, they thought she was in her 40s, but after a further look and further examination, they determined she was between 17 to 27, so in her late teens to late 20s. She was likely white, and later testing proved that she spent most of her childhood in America. That doesn't rule out she probably immigrated from another country as a child or as a baby, but she spent most of her years in the United States. She was not only likely white, she was around 5 feet 3 to 5 foot tall and weighed somewhere between 100 and 130 pounds. She had dark brown wavy hair, but due to some private hair that was found in the trunk, it's just a natural reddish tint. So she was born a redhead whose hair faded into brown over time, or she possibly dyed her hair later on. But strangely, there were no personal items, no clothing, no jewelry, just her body and a single dark collar towel nearby, indicating she was not clothed when placed in the trunk. Interesting, forensic analysis revealed something remarkable. Signs of previous injuries to her back and her feet. These injuries suggest that she may have been involved in gymnastics or cheerleading or another form of dance that placed stress in those areas. They called it the cheerleader because those were one of the main aspects that would be consistent with. She possibly was a cheerleader, but was she a dancer, an athlete of another field, maybe equestrian, figure skating, ballet? But she was definitely someone who pursued physical activities with dedication. The autopsy confirmed what they feared. Her death was indeed a homicide, but due to the condition of her remains, authorities couldn't determine how she was killed. But based on the injuries to her jaw, it's possibly that she was strangled due to the injuries they found on her jaw. They could not determine when she died. They estimated that she could have died within months to up to a decade before her discovery, leaving a haunting mystery as to why she has been hidden away in that old footlocker for so long. Despite the media coverage and forensic advancements, this young woman's identity remains elusive. The case has been featured on television programs like New Detectives and Final Justice, but no one has come forward to identify her. As of right now, over 20 plus missing women from across the country have been ruled out as potential matches, and authorities continue to hit dead ends. Although there are several theories that might have happened, some investigators believe that the woman was killed by someone close to her, who might have known her well and who feared the repercussions of her death becoming known. Another theory was that her death was an accident, perhaps an unintentional consequence of a risky lifestyle, but rather than report it, someone close to her hid it in a footlocker to cover it up. I actually have my own theories on how these two could actually work, but we'll get to the theories towards the end of the video, like always. So, and then there's a possibility of a serial killer. We're dealing with the 1970s and 80s, and serial killers were just becoming the term was just becoming well known. And so, was she the victim of a killer who, maybe the first victim, panic thrill? We don't know. As of time, a few unsolved murders were taking place in the region, and some investigators believe her death could be connected to one of those cases. If that's true, she may have fallen victim to a serial killer who just saw her as another faceless prey. I mean, indicating there was no true motive or no true it's not an accident. She was just possibly at the wrong place at the wrong time. Forensic anthropology is also giving us more clues. The victim had extensive dental work done, crowns, root canals, and numerous fillings, indicating she came from a family with the means to afford high quality dental care. The love of work means she was loved and cared for, or at least that someone took care for during her life. Yet no one has ever come forward looking for a young woman with her specific characteristics. They did give her teeth to dentists around the area, but none of them had any dental work that matched her, so she may not have been from Maryland or from the region of Maryland that they were looking at. But another theory is that yes, the dental work would probably prove she came from a pretty wealthy family or well-class, middle-class family. Some dental students have known to who are in dental school have known to give work for free. It means to practice her skills. If that's the case, and that's how she got her dental work done, it would indicate she probably came from a family that had money but could not afford quality dental care that she needed. So let's look into what some of the theories that may have happened. So we do know that the woman was white. She most likely came from a middle class, maybe middle class background, maybe even upper middle class. But the problem is with many people having a problem with her name, the cheerleader in the trunk. But one thing has not been adding up with this theory, and some people believe she may have been a victim of another lifestyle or another line of athleticism in a way. Her feet showed signs that she wore high heels often. Now, I'm not a professional dancer by any means. I have no experience, but I cannot think of a dancer or someone who's involved in dance, cheerleader, gymnastics, equestrian, or figure skaters who would wear high heels often. So, because if she was so dedicated, like investigators believe, the high heels wouldn't make sense. I mean, sure, she probably liked high heels, but she'd be uncomfortable all the time. So things wouldn't be adding up to her wearing high heels often if she was a dancer. The other theory, and this is a theory, I know this is something that's been speculated by among fans, is that the activity she did most of her life that she did that caused the injuries to her and why explains the high heels was that she was a stripper, a pole dancer, or an exotic dancer. Those would actually add up if you think about wearing high heels all the time. She's doing the flips, she's doing the turns, she's doing the moves on the pole, she's doing things that would make sense. And that could line up to maybe why she ended up in the trunk. The other theory, and this is something I found online, was that she may have been actually been a ballerina. Now, if you're a ballet, you know you always have to be on your tippy toes. That might make sense to why her feet look like they had to wear a high heel when in actuality she may have even wore them. She was just a ballerina. Other people have theorized an equestrian, she may have been a figure skater, she may have been involved in another sport, but as of right now, people have been leaning towards more of either a more into the world of an exotic dancer, because that would make more adding up with the injuries not only did she have, but also why maybe dentists has had a record because yes, she was making money. For example, she was just making money. Because either way, if you're dancing, either a pole dancer or going to competitions, paying for costumes, you're doing all this, no matter what you're doing, even in gymnastics, cheerleading, figure skating, whatever, or pole, you're paying money for a lot of things, and sometimes you need to cut costs. So it's probably she couldn't afford dental care, which goes back into line. She probably got her dental care by going to students or possibly offering her services to like dental students to practice their work in, so they can do so she can get the work she needs for free. So it's like, I need can you touch on me? No problem. So it's like that. So, but I don't know if they have records of the people they practice on. This could be done anonymously, but we don't know. And we also know she was found without clothes on. So let's go into one theory of what happened. Theory one is the obvious one. She was a victim of a homicide. If she was the victim of someone she knew, it's more likely she was the victim of, if she was either a ballerina, a dancer, or a figure skater, she could have been admired by someone who she thought was a friend, but they wanted more. And when she rejected their advances, they lost it and then they killed her. Fearing what would happen when they caught finally when they find her body, they hid her body away and hid her for so long. The other theory is that she was killed by a stalker. Once again, that does line up. We know maybe she is a very beautiful, popular dancer or strip, but popular athlete, or I should say, or stripper. She caught the eye of the wrong fan or the wrong client. And we have seen cases where clientele have since developed, personal attachments to either a stripper club, bring them as property because they're showing stuff, or even for like a dancer, even who is doing the stuff. We have seen that before. Liking turns to obsession, rejection turns into murder. So she could have been a victim of stalking through a line of work, either through a fan she met at an event who constantly saw her, or she was a victim of the wrong client who took obsessive with her if she was a stripper, if she was in a line of work with exotic dancing. The other theory that it's very possible is that she was in just an accident. Now, keep in mind, she was found without clothes on. So at that point, because her brains were both for skeleton, it was impossible to determine if she was in fact sexually assaulted or any form of that could have happened to her. But that's one thing that if the body was, they probably did take her clothes off to hide the fact that their DNA was on them and, like what the heck or whatever. But because she's found without clothes, it's possible that this was in fact an accident either way. So think about all the scenarios. She was a dancer in the question, a cheerleader, gymnastics, strip dancer, whatever. She was involved in routine. She was practicing. Something went horribly wrong and she ultimately died. She broke her neck, something like that, or maybe something went wrong. It would actually line up with maybe they're panicking because oh, because we can have this like affecting her image, at the club or the organization she was a part of. So they covered up everything up. They tell her family that she left and she just left. And they tell the other students who were with them, or the other dancers, or whoever was with her at the time, like, oh, she just left. She ran away. She went back home to her family. So that's like they just cover things up because they don't want to ruin their image. Now, the other theory could actually line up with a lot of the theories. We're assuming she came from a middle class family, but is it possible because she's found a footlocker, was she a circus performer? She could have run away from home due to circumstances that happened in her life, and due to her already having an athletic background, she joins a circus as a way to make money. She can't avoid dental care, so she does her services to dental students, doing her care for free. And as a result, and she dies either by the stalker, the killer, the fan, or an accident. So they place her in the footlocker to cover it up. Now, what would actually line up as to why no one has identified her? A loved one probably didn't report her missing. The circus didn't want to identify her because they know the moment they did, oh yeah, she did gymnastics for our club, for our circus, whatever. Here we're gonna find out, oh, this person killed her, or this accident happened, and they're already going through some hard time that can go with it. So there could be a cover up here. The other cover up here because a stalker who got Issa's access to one of the performers and they killed him and they hid the body to cover up the fact that they didn't take the necessary safety precautions to protect the people working there. That could add up too in either of the line categories. So this could be a cover up either way in an accident or a murder. Either way, there is multiple theories to what really happened to this woman. So we have those theories. There's not much in terms of others of why she was never reported missing. She could have been a foster care kid who ran away. People speculate maybe she came from a pretty bad family and ran away. But because she had lessons for all of her life, it's possible that the background that we're placing this woman at the moment is around middle class. So she's either from middle class or upper middle class family. And she probably does have people looking for her, but because she was missing for so long, no one has placed two and two together. Because you would think if she did come from a good family, that perhaps someone would recognize her, even from like school or whatever, or she's probably not even from Maryland. Now, we do know she's from the United States due to the testing that was done on her that shows she spent most of her childhood in the United States, in the United States. but we can't determine where exactly. So she may not be from Maryland. So that's the little thing we have to continue in. She may not be from the Maryland state or even the county that she was found in. She may be from further off. The other thing is that they should have done maybe if they still have the footlocker and evidence, they could see if they've checked on the manufacturer through there and see if they have anything in that area. But once again, it's just to assume they still have the footlocker and the evidence lockup. Her DNA and dental records are encoded, so hopefully we can get identification if not through a family member looking for the missing loved one, through genetics, like, oh, so she's related to this person and then this person. And then they narrow it down who she could be by contacting family. Like, oh, hey, do you have a loved one who went missing 10 years ago, like in the 1970s? Because we're speculating because it's still hard to determine when she died. We don't know if she died in the 70s or in the 80s when she was found. So it's gonna be hard to determine to find it. So there's still more that they could do to identify this woman, but I do believe when we do find out what happened, any of the theories that I mentioned or that people have speculated, because Web Sleuths actually has like a whole dedic fandom, has a whole link line dedicated to this page, along with Reddit. A lot of people have spent time trying to identify this woman. So if DNA, a family member will not identify this person, did the internet will, and someone online could put two and two together and commit a timeline to what really happened to this woman. Now, if she wasn't the victim of an accident, a murder, or other extreme circumstances, she could have been a victim of trafficking. She could have met someone who promised to give her a better way of life. She does a little bit of work for them, and when she refuses to do more, they ultimately decide to kill her and put her in the footlocker to cover up their crime. That's another theory. So that's like the last theory I'm going to talk about today is that she may have been a victim of trafficking, and that could explain, a lot of the things we haven't found. Why no one reported her missing? Because you would think by now someone would, but if she was a runaway, that would make sense, or a foster care kid. Either way, something happened in this woman's life. She probably, maybe, if she is on that line of track of a runaway, she probably did from good family, maybe lost her way, and was about to find her way, and something happened. Either way, I would not be surprised if we find out, if we do end up, when we identify this woman, that she did from a good life, and by some circumstances happened, and then that's how she met her fate. We've seen this happen a lot in many cold cases. Authorities, including the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, continue to release reconstructions of her face, hoping someone would recognize her. And even her case remains open, with law enforcement officers still hoping to piece together fragments of her life. Now, I'm going to imagine that one of her photos feature her with brown hair, but I want to imagine for a moment what would she look like if she had a natural reddish hair. So think any hair red tone you could think of, by red, darker red. Do you recognize her? Because if they have reddish hair, found in the trunk as well. They should do photos of what she really looked like with the red hair, and they could do all shades so that they could find out. Now, unfortunately, they do not know Jane Doe's eye color, so that's another problem they're dealing with. Her eye color has not been known. So, placing multiple photos of this girl with brown hair, red hair, and different eye colors, that could actually help identify who she could be, because then it gives people more of a thinking process of, do I recognize this woman, whatever, because if they have multiple photos out here, you're going to get multiple leads and tips, and one of them could be the magic one. By having multiple photos, multiple versions of the same photo, you would able to identify them. So it's like if they have brown, show, for example, they should show her with the brown hair, the one, the original thing, and then they have the same photo with the red hair, and then add in a different eye color for each one. It should look like with this red hair with blue eyes. So it should look like with the red hair with green eyes, and so on and so on. So hopefully someone will recognize her, because maybe, yes, someone knows her and they're thinking, yeah, she does look like someone I know, but the brown hair doesn't really add up. You put it with the red hair, that's when the camera's going to click. So there we go. So more likely, I think by showing different variants of the photos, they'll have more options of who she might be. And someone who saw the photo before can think, I think I know who this girl is. And then we have our clue or whatever. And then we are one step closer to finding out what happened to her. So, listeners, what do you think happened? Was she the victim of a crime of passion, carried away by someone she trusted? Did she encounter a dangerous predator who ended her life and disposed of her remains in the woods? For those interested in a deeper dive, you can find reconstructions and additional details of websites of both the NCMEC and NAMUS. And if you or anyone you know recognize any details from the story, no matter how small, authorities encourage you to come forward. Sometimes it takes a single detail to bring a family long-awaited closure and finally put a name to the cheerleader in the trunk. Thank you for joining us on this journey into one of Maryland's most enduring mysteries. We'll continue to keep an eye on this case and others like it. There's one thing we know is that time may pass, but the truth has a way of surfacing. We'll be here to tell the stories of when it does. Until next time, stay safe and keep searching for the truth.